Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks host the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Today, it's a doubleheader starting at 4 p.m. with Jewish Heritage Night. As for this game, the Ferry Hawks will play as the Staten Island Menches. Friday at 7 p.m., it's soccer night, and kids glow around the bases postgame. Saturday at 6:30, it's Broadway night with postgame fireworks and Broadway rave. Sunday at 1:30, it's Military Appreciation Day, and the kids run around the bases.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
People love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
You are now diving headfirst in the deep end of the Stone Zone. Well, President Donald Trump once again demonstrated his unyielding commitment to election integrity and the truth about the 2020 election, storming off the set of NBC's Meet the Press during a heated interview with host Kristen Welker. This is not the first time for Welker. She has yet to correct or apologize for the blatant lies she made on air about President Donald Trump's reaction to a shooting near the White House back on August 10th, 2020. Trump was ushered from the podium by the Secret Service and returned about 10 minutes later to report quite calmly about what happened. Ms. Welker then asked the president if he was at all rattled by the experience, to which he calmly and rhetorically replied, "Do I look rattled?" 2 hours later, Ms. Welker reported from the White House on the air that when she asked the president if he was rattled, he said, "Well, of course." Welker and MSNBC refused to correct her false reporting when the National Legal and Policy Center attorney Paul Kamenar called her out on it. Trump was right about to cut short his recent interview with the crooked Welker in Wisconsin, who denied Trump's claim once again that she was a liberal, actually saying with a straight face, "No, I'm just a journalist." If she's just a journalist, why did she give that big contribution to Kamala Harris? After Welker repeatedly smeared him with baseless accusations of no evidence and attacked the January 6 patriots, claiming that there were no evidence that January 6 was a setup, Trump had finally had enough of this one-sided ambush. He ripped off the microphone, tossed it down, and declared, "Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, CBS, and CNN." Trump then crushed the mic underfoot as he walked off, a fitting symbol of rejecting the continued fake news propaganda. Trump grilled Welker for 6 minutes, defending January 6 supporters targeted by the Biden regime and exposing the rigged trials and dirty cops who were involved. He highlighted his proposed $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund to protect Americans from weaponized government. What they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong. When Welker defended California's delayed vote counting, that's how they vote in California, Trump fired back, "Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they still don't have a result? You're nowhere close to picking a winner. You're either crooked or you're stupid," the president said. I think he got that right. Trump's refusal to budge on the 2020 stolen election remains a cornerstone of his America First agenda. What's amazing is that the mainstream media won't finally admit, based on the now overwhelming evidence of election fraud in 2020, that the whole thing was fixed. In major Democrat-run cities, glaring irregularities screamed fraud. In Detroit's vote counting center, observers reported ballots being counted without proper oversight, with affidavits detailing unsecured ballots and mysterious vans delivering loads of ballots at 3 o'clock in the morning. Milwaukee saw suspicious surges in absentee ballots from Democrat strongholds, with turnout anomalies and indefinitely confined voter loopholes exploded en masse. Why were the Republican election observers physically removed by the Detroit police? Why did they put up large pieces of cardboard over the windows so nobody could see what was going on in the counting center? Atlanta's State Farm Arena footage captured suitcases of ballots pulled out from under tables after observers were told to leave, followed by massive Biden paper ballot dumps. Philadelphia and other urban machines delivered statistically impossible late-night vote spikes, favoring Biden by an 80 to 90% margin or more, defying all historical patterns and mathematical possibilities. These urban centers, long plagued by Democrat political machines, produced enough questionable ballots to flip key swing states back in 2020. President Trump has never wavered. The 2020 elections were rigged. There's more than overwhelming evidence against it, and the American people understand it. A recent Rasmussen poll showed that more than 80% of the people believe the 2020 election was fixed. The crooked media and the deep state know it. President Trump's bold stand exposes the fake news cartel's desperation. While elites smear patriots and rig the system, President Trump continues to fight for fair elections, secure borders, and justice. This is why the public trusts the president, and he will never back down. This is why fewer and fewer people are watching NBC, in particular, Ms. Welker. You've seen a perfect example of this in California's Los Angeles mayor's race. In this instances of grotesque election fraud, you do not have a go back to the 2020 presidential election. You can look at what is taking place in Los Angeles right now, where former reality TV star Spencer Pratt is really getting screwed. Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman mysteriously overtook Pratt for second place in the mayoral primary 9 days after Election Day, as dubious ballots keep pouring in. With 83.2% of votes counted, incumbent Karen Bass leads with 34.68%, while Raman, who conceded on election night, has suddenly surged to 27.12% over Pratt's 26.69%, flipping a pre-election polling edge and election night momentum through waves of these mysterious late arriving mail-ins. The pattern is damning. Recent drops heavily favored Raman as around 40%, while Pratt received just 18%, and even Bass only 33%. Pratt, running as an outsider voice on crime and homelessness, watched as his lead evaporates as California's slow-rolling, bogus count dragged on. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy pinned the blame squarely on Governor Gavin Newsom's election reforms, which include universal mail-in ballots, same-day registration with no ID requirements, and dirty voter lists. In fact, showing a picture ID to vote in California is actually illegal. According to McCarthy, the real reason ID is banned in California is so to enlarge large-scale fraud. When you combine no ID and mail-in voting, fraud is de facto legalized, said the former speaker. Pratt's campaign rightly called out the farce. Votes for Raman have been ballooned without similar gains from Bass. How is it that all of these last late-coming votes are overwhelming for Raman rather than Bass, the incumbent mayor, who, by the way, admits that her two political heroes are Mao Zedong and Fidel Castro? This isn't democracy. It's a rigged process designed to let Democrats manufacture outcomes after the polls have closed. Americans see through the truth. Unsecured mail-in ballots, chain of custody questions, signature verification rigor, and same-day transparency are inherently untrustworthy. President Trump's fight for election integrity has never been more urgent. Real reform, voter ID, election day voting, paper ballots, and cleaned-up voter rolls are essential to restoring faith in the system. If this does not compel the Senate to pass the SAVE Act, Save America Act, as it's now called, well, then it's clear that our senators are in on the fraud scheme and stand with the enemies of this nation. Trump's pick for the Director of National Intelligence sends the deep state into a full meltdown. Bill Pulte has Democrats and rhinos squirming as President Donald Trump is delivering another masterclass in draining the swamp with his appointment of Pulte as the acting Director of National Intelligence. On Sunday's Face the Nation, Jim Himes of Connecticut, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, unleashed a panic tirade labeling Pulte's appointment by Trump the worst and most dangerous appointment. Himes demanded that Trump sober up and pull his pick of Pulte, admitting that it has derailed FISA Section 702 reauthorization, a controversial surveillance tool long abused by the intelligence community. Actually, if Bill Pulte's appointment causes the House and the Senate not to renew FISA Section 702, by the way, that's the section under which they illegally spied on Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, that would be an accomplishment in itself. Himes, a leftist, pleaded for an alternative and warned of potential terrorist attacks, exposing the deep state's reliance on unchecked power and their fear of real accountability. Trump, true to form, refuses to back down, making both Democrats and timid rhino Republicans visibly squirm. I know Bill Pulte. I've known him for years. He's a battle-tested reformer and America First loyalist, currently leading the Federal Housing Finance Agency, bringing outsider energy to the bloated intelligence community. His willingness to target political enemies of the president signals a long overdue house cleaning. They're very upset about the fact that he used publicly available documents to prove that Letitia James engaged in mortgage fraud. So did Lisa Cook, the member of the Federal Reserve Board. No, he didn't use and access proprietary databases. Everything Bill Pulte produced can be found online by anyone with a laptop. You see, there's a different standard. People like Adam Schiff or Eric Swalwell or Letitia James or Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook are allowed to engage in mortgage fraud. But if I did what they did, trust me, I'd already be in jail. By installing a proven disruptor without the taint of permanent DC insider corruption, Trump has thrown a wrench into the surveillance state's gears. This move proves that President Trump's iron resolve, the deep state's days are actually numbered. No more weaponized intelligence against patriots, no more endless FISA abuses, no more unaccountable bureaucrats hiding behind national security. While establishment figures like Himes, I'm embarrassed that this guy is from my home state of Connecticut, hyperventilate, Americans cheer a president who prioritizes loyalty over the people, loyalty over the swamp. Trump's strategic appointment exposes the intelligence cartel's desperation to protect their fiefdom and continue to cover up their lies. With Pulte at the helm, expect real reform, declassification of abuses, and justice for those targeted by the Biden era, a deep state. The era of unbridled intelligence overreach is ending. Trump is making America secure and sovereign again with the appointment of Bill Pulte. Newly released federal records have unearthed disturbing details about the July 13th, 2024 assassination attempt on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, raising serious questions about potential insider involvement or catastrophic failures. Judicial Watch's Freedom of Information Act lawsuit forced the FBI to release 48 heavily redacted pages revealing that a Butler County Sheriff's Office deputy exchanged 2 emails with the alleged assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, prior to the attack. The contents of these emails remain completely blacked out, fueling suspicions of a deeper conspiracy. The deputy claimed no personal interaction and only realized the connection after a New York Times reporter contacted her. Why was Crooks emailing a local deputy? What exactly was discussed? Why are these emails or records redacted? It all screams of a cover-up of some time when the American people deserve total and complete transparency. Adding to the strange timeline, a SWAT officer recovered a gray remote device with an antenna from Crook's pocket. Details still murky and never previously reported to the American people. A Beaver County medic reported a police canine hit on the building where Crooks was perched. When we come back, more about questions about the attempted assassination on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
It is a great, great person, Roger Stone.
The Stone Zone. June is Black Music Month. We don't just celebrate music, we feel it.
Ray Charles didn't just sing music, he fused America's traditions into something entirely new.
Everybody's doing the mess around.
Blind from childhood, Ray blended gospel, blues, jazz, country, and rhythm and blues into a sound that became simply known as soul.
Hey, mama, don't you treat me wrong.
With hits like Georgia on My Mind and Hit the Road, Jack, he delivered performances with joy, pain, humor, and raw humanity.
What you say?
Ray also broke barriers in the business of music, demanding creative control and ownership at a time when few artists had such power.
Georgia.
His genius crossed every genre and every audience.
Georgia.
Tough, independent, deeply emotional, Ray Charles became one of the defining voices of American culture itself.
Unchain my heart.
Celebrating Black Music Month.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877 Cars for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Listen to this podcast now
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
One Tough Podcast with Bo Dietl.
I cry for cops today. NYPD was the greatest police department in the world. My friend from Nassau County, who in New York City cops, said, Bo, thank God I left New York City PD for Nassau County PD. We're respected out here because you're not really doing good backgrounds.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
The Stone Zone. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. We're talking about the many unanswered questions regarding the attempted life on President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and this shocking new revelation that a gray remote device with an antenna was found in Crook's pocket, a detail still not reported to the American people. A Beaver County medic reported a police canine hit on the building where Crooks perched, yet protocol lapses allowed the shooter to remain in position. In fact, he was seen for over 90 minutes inside the restricted area where Trump was going to appear. Questions also wonder about why Crook's body was cremated within 10 days of the attempted assassination. They also swirl around when Crook's body was actually removed and who handled the body bag. This is not normal. A direct email link between law enforcement and the shooter, combined with ongoing redactions and security breakdowns, point to either gross incompetence or something far more sinister. Why were the state, federal, and local police officers all on different radio frequencies so they couldn't communicate with each other? Well, the police and those in law enforcement may not have seen crooks on the roof, but many average citizens did. You go on YouTube and see it yourself. It was pointed out for over 90 minutes. The deep state's history of weaponization against Trump makes these omissions unacceptable. President Trump and the American people demand unredacted, full documents, aggressive congressional probes, and full accountability now. The full truth behind this near miss must come out before there is yet another attempt. President Donald Trump has already been the target of 3 separate additional assassination attempts, and we still don't have the truth about the first one. Kind of reminds me of the Kennedy assassination. It's more than 50 years later, and we still don't know everything about who killed President John F. Kennedy and why. I'm afraid in the case of crooks, we have an almost identical situation. I, for one, am not satisfied. I want to know more about Thomas Matthew Crooks. I'm not even sure that he's the actual shooter, and I find it hard to believe that he had no Confederates. Is it coincidental that he just been target practice shooting at the same place as the DHS officers? No, we need to know a lot more about who tried to kill President Donald Trump and more. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to Stone Zone. Don't go away, because we'll be right back.
June is Men's Health Month. Red Apple Audio Networks is proud to recognize Men's Health Month. A reminder that taking care of your health is one of the strongest things you can do.
This is Roger Stone. Healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated. The foods you choose every day directly affect your energy level, your heart health, your weight, and your overall wellness. So start with simple changes. Drink more water. Add more fruits and vegetables to your meals. Choose lean proteins and reduce processed foods and excess sugar. Skipping meals or relying on fast food regularly can leave your body running on empty. Instead of focusing on perfection, aim for consistency. Preparing meals ahead of time or making healthier swaps can go a very long way. Remember, nutrition is fuel for both body and mind. Making better choices can lower your risk of chronic disease and help you feel stronger, more focused, and more energized every day.
Join Red Apple Audio Networks in supporting healthier lives for men everywhere. Learn more about Men's Health Month and take charge of your health today.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, oh yeah, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
Spotify, it's Jay Shetty. Are you one of those media strategy people? Scrolling through spreadsheets, searching for an audience that pays twice as much attention to your ads than they do on social? Let me introduce you to Fans. And they're here with me on Spotify. Trust me, I know Fans. They don't skip, they stay for hours. They don't move on, they manifest. They're not a demographic group, they're fans.
Spotify advertising. You're among fans.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's a one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant political analyst.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. Leading the news, Iran has shot down a U.S. Black Hawk helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz, and President Donald Trump says they will pay. Last night, over the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway under which almost 20% of the world's energy must flow, the most important 21 miles of water on planet Earth, the Ayatollah's regime made a decision. They looked up at an American AH-64 Apache helicopter, 2 American soldiers inside patrolling international waters near the coast of Oman, and they pulled the trigger. At 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time on June 8th, that Apache, pardon me, I correct myself, I earlier said it was a Black Hawk, it was an Apache. That Apache helicopter went down into the dark waters of the Gulf, and for 2 agonizing orders, 2 American aviators floated in hostile seas while the world's most dangerous regime watched. Thank God and thank the finest military on the face of Earth, those 2 pilots are alive tonight, safe and uninjured. And here's the part history will remember. They were pulled out of the water by an unmanned American drone boat, a 24-foot Corsair vessel operated by the Navy's Task Force 59. This is the first sea drone rescue in the history of warfare. While Tehran was playing with fire, American innovation here was saving American lives. Let that contrast sink in for a moment. So here's what we know. The U.S. Army AH-64 Apache attack was brought down over the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command initially called it an incident under investigation. Then President Trump, briefed by the military, confirmed it himself on his Truth Social media platform. The Iranians shot it down, he said. The U.S. official says the investigation determined that Iranians' drone struck the helicopter, although Washington has not yet declared whether the strike was intentional. I think we can figure that one out. This happened again off the coast of Oman, the choke point through which actually about 1/5 of the world's oil must flow, and the waterway that Iran has effectively strangled since the war began in late February. There were, as I say, 2 U.S. Army aviators, both rescued roughly 2 hours after going down. Both, I'm happy to say now, perfectly safe. The Apache they flew is no ordinary aircraft. These helicopters are the tip of the spear when it comes to enforcing America's blockade on Iranian crude oil, the economic chokehold designed to drag Tehran to the negotiating table. The timing here is very key. Timing, my friends, is never an accident in geopolitics. The shootdown came 1 day after Israel and Iran exchanged direct fire for the first time since April 8th and the declared ceasefire, and mere hours before President Trump, leaving the NBA Finals game in New York, told reporters the United States and Iran were in the final stages of what would be a very, very good deal. A deal to end Iran's nuclear ambitions, a deal to reopen the strait. A deal, he said, that could be signed in 2 or 3 days. And what was Tehran's answer? A drone into an American helicopter in an attempt to kill 2 Americans. Iran's response? No claim of responsibility, no apology. Instead, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi took to X with a threat dressed up as advice, saying foreign forces near Iranian territory face constant risk from accidents and crossfire, that the best way to reduce the risk is for America to leave the region, and that while Iran prefers the language of diplomacy, it speaks other languages as well. That's not only a threat, it's an insult. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not diplomacy. That is like a mob boss telling you it would be a shame if something happened to your helicopter. Make no mistake about what this was. This was not an accident. This was yet another test. The mullahs have read the old playbook: provoke, deny, negotiate. Bleed America with 1,000 small cuts and bet that Washington blinks. They ran that play on weak administrations like Joe Biden's for 40 years, and unfortunately it worked. But here's what the regime apparently forgot. Donald Trump's red line has been public for months. He has told his own aides he would consider restarting a full war if Iran kills American service members. Nobody, thank God, died last night. But as one analyst put it, that was not for a lack of effort on Tehran's part. So why pull the trigger? 3 possibilities, and they may all be true at once. 1, Iran wants to test whether Trump's red line is real. 2, Iran wants to humiliate him, forcing him to absorb an attack before signing this peace deal. Or 3, the hardliners in Tehran simply want the war to continue. Whatever their motive, they have made a catastrophic miscalculation about the man in the Oval Office. The president's words on Truth Social were unmistakable. He confirmed the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters patrolling the strait. He confirmed both pilots were safe and uninjured, and then came the sentence that should keep Tehran awake at night. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Must, of necessity, respond. Fox News, reporting from the White House, suggests the president is inclined to order something big. So what are the scenarios? Let's watch this closely. Potential scenario 1, the calibrated strike. America hits a high-value Iranian military target, the kind of precision punishment we saw earlier this month on Quelm Island, sends the message and returns to the table. The deal survives, the strait reopens, peace through strength, executed to perfection. Scenario 2, escalation. Iran responds to the response. Missiles fly at American bases as they did in Kuwait. The April ceasefire, already hanging by a thread after the Israel-Iran exchange of yesterday, collapses entirely. The war that has already shaken the global economy, spiked energy prices, and driven up the cost of food on your table comes roaring back at full strength. And then there's scenario 3, unlikely. Tehran folds. The regime, staring down a blockade that is strangling its oil revenue, and a president who does not bluff, signs the deal. The nuclear program ends. The state reopens immediately upon signing, as the president demands. And this shoot-down becomes a mere footnote, the regime's last desperate act of defiance before capitulation. I still believe the president holds the cards. The blockade is choking Tehran's treasury. The deal is sitting on the table. Iran can sign it, or Iran can find out what American resolve actually looks like. This is not an abstraction, my friends. This is your gas prices, your grocery bill. The 100-day war has already made the basics more expensive for every working family in America. The fastest way to end it is not through weakness. It's through strength. It is a president willing to say what he means and do what he says. 2 American pilots came home safe last night, plucked from the sea by a robot boat that didn't exist as a rescue tool until America built it. The question now is whether the regime in Tehran is smart enough to come to the table or arrogant enough to learn the hard way. Stay tuned. This is far from over. Now, I know Donald Trump. I've known him for 50 years. He is not a man to cross. He is anxious to end this war, but to do so on equitable terms, but never underestimate his strength and his resolve. We'll be following this story very closely. Meanwhile, the high-tech firm Meta is making a major bet on American workers, and this time it's not about another university pipeline or another diversity seminar. It's about skilled trades. On Monday, Meta announced America's Workforce Academy, calling it the largest private sector commitment to the skilled trades with a job guarantee in American history. The program is set to launch in 2026 at pilot locations in Louisiana, Ohio, Indiana, and Texas, backed by an initial $115 million first-year investment. The academy will be free for participants who will be paid while they learn. Graduates will earn nationally recognized credentials through the National Center for Construction Education and Research, along with an American Workforce Certificate designed to move them across employers and industries. Reminds me when I was growing up, my parents told me that I should be a plumber or an electrician or a wallboard man. Those guys made good money, my dad said. Instead, I chose politics. That always confused my parents until the day I introduced my father to Ronald Reagan in Norwalk, Connecticut at a rally, and then he understood why I had taken my life in a different direction. Here, more importantly, Meta says every graduate will be guaranteed a job. This is the kind of workforce development that common sense Americans have long called for. Practical training, no college debt, real credentials, and a direct path to gainful employment. Mike Rowe, a longtime advocate for the trades, praised the program, saying workers will be paid to learn, face zero cost, earn fast certification, and have a guaranteed job waiting when they get out. The announcement comes as Meta restructures around artificial intelligence after laying off about 10% of its global workforce and moving thousands of remaining employees into AI-related initiatives. Now, AI may eliminate some white-collar jobs, but it will also require electricians, fiber installers, building and construction workers, and technicians. So Meta's move makes business sense and should be sustainable. Still, we should not just trust big tech. The only reason that Meta is making these moves is because President Trump and his MAGA agenda have pressured them to do so. We must keep the pressure on and ensure that Meta and all the other tech giants fulfill their commitments to America. Meanwhile, another liberal activist federal judge has stepped in to block President Trump's immigration agenda, this time striking down his $100,000 fee on H-1B visa petitions, a policy designed to protect American workers and stop corporations from using foreign labor as a cheap substitute. U.S. District Judge Leo Sorokin ruled on June 8th that the fee was unlawful, claiming it amounted to a tax that Congress had not authorized. He also said the Trump administration violated the Administrative Procedure Act by putting the policy in place without a public comment period. The result is another incomprehensible decision from the federal bench, a judge acknowledging the president has broad authority to restrict the entry of non-citizens while still blocking one of the tools Trump chooses to enforce that very authority. President Trump announced the fees as part of his effort to reform the H-1B system, which has long been criticized as a pipeline for replacing American professionals with foreign workers who work for cheaper and displace our native workforce. The fee would have forced companies to think twice before reaching overseas instead of hiring qualified Americans here at home. It's common sense, but Massachusetts and 19 other Democrat-led states sued, and now one judge has wiped out the policy nationwide. Big tech firms and other chronic exploiters of the H-1B visas are no doubt very happy at this news, but this is becoming, sadly, a familiar pattern. Voters elect Trump to secure the border, restore immigration sanity, and put American workers first. Then activist judges turn around, spit on the will of the people. Well, this fight is not over. An appeal is currently pending, but the fact that we have to put on these demeaning song and dance routines in front of these power-drunk, robed judges is an outrage. Andrew Jackson would not have taken this. In my opinion, neither should President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the Trump administration pledges to put ICE agents in the streets of New York City. The Trump administration is preparing to send a major surge of ICE officers into New York City after Governor Kathy Hochul signed a sweeping anti-ICE package that critics say protects illegal immigrants and makes the city less safe. Border czar Tom Homan told Fox and Friends on Monday the New Yorkers are about to see more ICE agents than you have ever seen in New York City. Homan said he had just reviewed the operational plans and made clear the deployment is coming. His message of common sense is simple. If New York blocks safe immigration arrests around county jails, federal agents will have to go into neighborhoods instead. This is the public safety point Democrats keep ignoring. When ICE can work with sheriffs and arrest criminal illegal aliens inside facilities, one officer can make the arrest safely. But when sanctuary politicians interfere, ICE has to send in entire teams into communities to find people who do not want to be found. The governor calls it a protection from federal overreach, but in actuality, it is destroying public safety for the purposes of scoring partisan political points. Homan has warned New York that this would happen. Now he says he's keeping that promise. The Trump administration's position is clear. Illegal immigrants who break the law will not get special protection just because New York Democrats want a political fight with Washington. The Trump administration will not blink and will not allow lawlessness to reign supreme in the Big Apple. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to The Stone Zone, and we'll be right back.
This is The Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
He likes politics and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone. Where's Roger?
This is the Worldwide News Network Extra.
During these warmer summer months, as you're dealing with mosquitoes out there, we've got some tips from medical professionals as to how to deal with bites. Dr. Christopher Bozzoli, first of all, recommends using mosquito repellent with 20% DEET or bug repellent.
Mosquitoes are very light flyers, right? And so any amount of turbulent air, if that's a ceiling fan, if that's a desk fan, goes a long way.
And really, you need to get rid of any standing water in your yard.
Mosquitoes need standing water, still water to reproduce. Minimizing near where you live or where you're going, trying to minimize any standing water.
And if you get any bites, apply anti-itch creams or use ice. Don't scratch those bites. That can cause infection. I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network.
June is Black Music Month. We don't just celebrate music, we feel it.
They called her the Empress of the Blues, and for good reason.
Nobody knows.
Bessie Smith possessed one of the most commanding voices ever recorded.
When it rains 5 days and the skies turn dark at night.
Powerful, emotional, and utterly fearless. Rising during the 1920s, she brought the pain, passion, humor, and hardships of Black America directly into the nation's consciousness. Her recordings sold in enormous numbers during an era when opportunities for Black women were painfully limited. Yet her influence reached far beyond blues music, shaping jazz, soul, and rock.
I need a little hot dog on my road.
Bessie Smith's voice still sounds timeless, bold, bruised, and unforgettable.
Baby, won't you please?
Celebrating Black Music Month. The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?
Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back into the Stone Zone. A Republican-led House Oversight Committee report is exposing Minnesota Democrats for allowing one of the largest welfare fraud scandals in American history out of cowardly fear of being seen as racist. The report says fraud concerns in Minnesota's social service programs reached senior officials in Governor Tim Walz's office, as well as that of Attorney General Keith Ellison, as early as 2019 and 2020. But instead of aggressive action to enforce the law, the committee says state leaders delayed, avoided, or softened their response while taxpayer money kept flowing and the American people continued to be bilked. At the center of the report is the Feeding Our Future scandal, where more than 110 people have been charged so far and over 60 have been convicted or pleaded guilty in a scheme that siphoned off money meant to feed children. According to the committee, officials had authority to suspend questionable payments, but they failed to act decisively at all. The report found that fears of being accused of racism played the major role. One Minnesota education official reported said she had been warned not to do anything that could be seen as targeting diverse communities, even while fraud concerns were mounting. Somalis had been deified by liberals who kept letting them into their communities, alleviating their original sin of white guilt. Instead, they were invited parasites to eat them from within. The report also says Ellison, a radical Muslim himself, who's an open supporter of Antifa, domestic terrorism, met with individuals tied to the Feeding Our Future in 2021, and the campaign donations later came from affiliates to him, now connected to these very criminal proceedings. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer called it a stunning failure, saying that the Walz administration failed the taxpayers. Democrats got high on their own supply. They said that multiculturalism was the future and that diversity was our strength. But now we're seeing the fruits of this new system, and they are foul indeed. It's time to send the illegal foreigners back to where they belong, either out of the country or to jail, and put their crooked enterprises out of commission. Meanwhile, we spoke yesterday extensively about the Southern Poverty Law Center. They are yet again today under fire on Capitol Hill after their interim CEO, Brian Fair, refused to back down from the group's decision to label Turning Point USA as a hate group. During a House Judiciary Committee hearing, Republican Congressman Darrell Issa pressed Mr. Fair directly, asking whether the Southern Poverty Law Center would recant its attacks on figures like Dr. Alveda King and the late Charlie Kirk. Fair would not give a yes. Instead, he said the Southern Poverty Law Center would continue to expose hate and extremism, even though we now know that they were subsidizing organizations like the Ku Klux Klan and other white extremist groups. You see, if there is no right extremism, then there's no ability for them to raise money to fight right-wing extremism. So they created white-wing extremism by funding informants and funding extremist organizations. This is what is known as a scam. Turning Point USA was added to the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate map in 2025, with the organization accusing TPS-USA, that's Charlie Kirk's group, of promoting fear and defending what it called white-dominated, male supremacist Christian order. I ended up on the Southern Poverty Law Center list several times simply because, well, I'm a conservative Republican. Republicans also pressed Mr. Fair yesterday on why the Southern Poverty Law Center targets Christian and conservative groups, refusing to list violent left-wing movements such as Antifa. Fair argued that Antifa is an ideology, not a group, an often debunked talking point used by apologists for left-wing terrorism. We saw what happened in the Antifa riots at the end of Donald Trump's term. Who paid for the bricks? Who paid for the flatbed trucks? Who paid for the buses? Who paid for the lawyers who immediately bailed radicals out of jail after they were arrested? No, Antifa is an organization, and it's a terrorist organization at that. I'm Roger Stone. Thank you for joining us today in the Stone Zone. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game, because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute, so you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.